Chapter 11 has been updated. The author of Goubi has finally updated. You are listening at novelfull.audio. First, she checked up on her adoptive father. Typing his name brought up a ton of online news, mostly positive. Wins governor's race, implements bold economic recovery plan, cracks down on drug cartels, prioritizes social programs. Everything was going exactly as he planned. Cheng Ling bit her lip. Forget it, she told herself, just let it go, but a part of her still seethed with resentment. She stared at his phony, loving smile in the news and felt nauseous. Right now, she was too weak to get revenge. But she had time. She needed to take a breath first, so, she shut down the news and typed a familiar URL into the address bar. It led to a website about ecological conservation. With hardly any traffic, it was full of messages urging people to protect the earth and its creatures. The site had several sections, and the latest article in the featured section was titled, "We Lost the Nightingale." It recounted how a small mountain village's disregard for the environment led to the death of a nightingale that had made its home there when a fire broke out. The writer described the nightingale's beauty in vivid detail, its stunning feathers and melodic song, making its death all the more poignant. Cheng Ling checked the author's information. Sparrow, this simple website was actually a covert communication channel for the H-Rangers. Nightingale was her codename. This article was essentially her obituary, notifying her team members scattered around the globe of Captain Cheng Ling's demise. As for Sparrow, that was her second-in-command, Nolan Lamson. Sparrow, as the author meant Sparrow, was the new captain. The last post in that section was 5 years ago, an article about dwindling tuna populations in the Pacific, written by Nightingale. Cheng Ling had written it for her previous captain, a quirky Japanese man with a mustache who loved comics. Each member of the H-Rangers had a codename based on a living creature. Besides the featured section, they could use other sections to write articles to pass along information. How was her adoptive father explaining her death to the team? Did Nolan know he had been murdered by her adoptive father? Or was he in on it? The thought pierced her heart like an ice pick. Cheng Ling closed her eyes. After calming down, she went to the UBS website and downloaded their app. After completing over a dozen security steps to verify her identity, Cheng Ling logged into a gray account she had set up using a fake ID. The balance, €36,687,621, 36 million euros. Every deposit was carefully routed through multiple channels to avoid any trace back to Cheng Ling, the captain of the H-Rangers. She had always intended to use that money to start a new life after leaving the Rangers. She used to think she was being overly cautious by creating a fake profile to open the account. Now she realized it was because she had always been suspicious of her adoptive father, TSK. Cheng Ling didn't transfer any funds. No need to rush. It would be bad if someone noticed the activity and traced it back to her. She was always careful. Okay, she'd taken care of what Special Agent Cheng Ling cared about. Now it was time to deal with the star, Cheng Ling. She completely cleared her browsing history to remove any traces. Then, she opened Weibo. She typed Cheng Ling Beach into the search bar. All that came up was an ad for sunscreen. She tried searching Cheng Ling High City, Cheng Ling drowning, actress drowning, and so on. Still nothing about her. If she remembered correctly, she'd seen nurses at the hospital pointing at her and whispering, so they must have recognized her. Cheng Ling had followed by Muchuan to High City, snuck into a party at a villa, and nearly drowned near Xian Man's house. Her mother and Xian Man had a confrontation at the hospital. Any one of these things would be big news, but there were no leaks from the paparazzi, the hospital, or the party guests. Cheng Ling smiled. They were so eager to kill her and keep it quiet. Whatever the original Cheng Ling saw in that villa must have been pretty big. They must be relieved she was alive but had lost her memory, but they must also worry that she might recover her memories. So, she wasn't safe. Cheng Ling rubbed the gleaming dagger the housekeeper had given her. Hiding at this point would be even harder. It was more dangerous to hide, but safer to put yourself in the public eye. That's why participating in desperate survival was a great choice. Cheng Ling slid the dagger back into her belt and stared at the computer screen, feeling a little dazed. She had always been busy training, studying, honing her skills. She had averaged less than 5 hours of sleep a night, trained new team members, gone on missions. Every second was accounted for, even bathroom breaks. There was little time for leisure. Now, suddenly, she had too much free time and didn't know what to do with it, like a poor person who wins the lottery. Staring at the pile of numbers, overwhelmed with joy and confusion, she closed her eyes and tried to remember what she was looking forward to when she told her adoptive father she wanted to retire. What did her ideal life look like? Backpacking, seeing the world, tasting different cuisines, and experiencing different cultures, finishing her novel. Painting more pictures that wouldn't be destroyed. Opening a small shop to sell handmade crafts and jewelry. Going to all those concerts she'd always wanted to see. All those dreams that had sustained her through dark times came rushing back. Cheng Ling opened her eyes. There were so many things she wanted to do. She needed to make a plan. Suddenly, time felt short. JPG, she opened a website for reading novels. She had a secret hobby, writing novels. Song of Light and Blood, by Inga. Currently being serialized, the comments were mostly angry readers demanding updates. Damn it. Author, where are you? Update, please. Update, I shouldn't have started this series. Now I check every day to see if the lazy author has updated. Hi author, the author next door updates 20,000 words a day. You update 20,000 words a month. Do you have any conscience? I'm the author next door who writes 20,000 words a day. Seeing someone update so little makes me feel like I'm showing off. Some people just don't have the talent. Crying face, author, did you write today? Run while you still can. This author takes forever to update. A smile spread across Cheng Ling's face. She had written 3 novels using a pseudonym. The first 2 were hugely popular. One was even adapted into a TV series, which she wrote herself. She just started the 3rd book when her adoptive father sent her to infiltrate the drug lord's operation, and the book had been on hiatus for over 6 months. She was surprised people were still waiting. Cheng Ling took a deep breath, closed her eyes to review the plot, then put her hands on the keyboard and started typing. She had planned the plot in her head for so long, it was easy to write, and she didn't have to worry about being nervous or getting carpal tunnel. She was so happy. A girl sipping coffee in a cafe was idly scrolling through her phone. Just as she was about to leave, her phone vibrated. The Cherry Tomato Reading app notification. Dear readers, Song of Light and Blood has been updated with 5 chapters. Come check it out. The reader rubbed her eyes. Could it be? No way. She tried to contain her excitement, resisting the urge to shout, and opened the app. Updated. After 231 days. The lazy author finally updated. And 5 chapters. 5 big fat chapters. Readers around the world cheered. Jiang Qilan was sitting in the meeting room of his studio. After being out of the spotlight for 6 months, he was making a comeback on the reality show Survival in Desperate Situations. There was a lot of preparation to do. He was serious. Has the medical team been assembled? We need the best first aid equipment. Don't skimp on online publicity. Contact more outdoor gear brands, try to get some sponsorships. We have to be careful. I'm not doing this to help someone else's career. I want control of the studio as soon as possible. And, his phone buzzed. Jiang Qilan was surprised. Only a few people knew his number. Anyone who texted him must have something important to say. Cherry Tomato Reading app. Dear readers, Song of Light and Blood has been updated with 5 chapters. Come check it out. Jiang Qian's eyes widened. Updated. The lazy author finally updated. Chapter 12, Going to the Sea to Find Turtles. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Qilan had been hooked on Shadow Song for 5 years. It was about a heroine, a total outdoorsy type, who hiked all over the world. She stumbled upon a primitive tribe in the Amazon and unearthed a magical secret. The hero was an anthropologist studying the same tribes. They clashed and butted heads at first, but had some genuinely funny moments working together. Eventually, they fell in love, cracked the secrets, finished their research, and settled down together. The author clearly knew their stuff about outdoor survival. Either they'd done a ton of research or had serious field experience. That's what got Jiang Qilan into outdoor sports in the first place. Too bad the author was a total flake, they dared to put the book on hold for over 6 months. But 5 new chapters dropped today. Ha 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 ha. Jiang Qilan fought to keep the excitement off his face. He grabbed his phone, faking an important call, stood up and told his assistant Mike, "You can handle the rest," something urgent came up. Mike, sitting nearby, had caught a glimpse of the notification on Jiang Qilan's phone. "Mike, yeah, urgent means hiding in his office reading." Jiang Qilan practically bolted from the conference room. He told Xiao Yuan, his personal assistant, "Xiao Yuan, get me a bag of Hua Mei melon seeds, an iced oolong milk tea, and some spicy duck wings, stat. Office, 10 minutes. Then he hit the restroom to make sure his reading session wouldn't be interrupted, and headed back to his office. Xiao Yuan was a pro. Less than 10 minutes later, the snacks were all set up on Jiang Qian's desk. He locked the door, propped up his phone, stuck the straw in his tea, got his disposable gloves ready, and tore open the snack bags. With everything prepped, he opened the app like he was about to perform a religious ritual. Not long after, Jiang Qian spat out melon seeds, face red. What an idiot hero. And she's so fake. You've been together this long, how can you not see she's messing with you on purpose? Get a clue. A few minutes later. This green tea supporting character is such a winner. The hero hasn't even been mean to him. Then. Ugh, the heroine is so getting screwed over. Why is everyone against her? Outsiders are bad enough, why do her parents have to disown her too? Yes. She's so badass. Take that, you jerk. A full hour after starting and 5 chapters later, Jiang Qian's emotions had been on a total roller coaster. Finally, he saw a rare note from the author at the end of the chapter. "Thank you for your continued support. I'm honored. I've been having trouble with my schedule and can't promise to update the story on a consistent schedule. From today on, 5 chapters will be updated at 2 p.m. every day until the end. I can't repay everyone's love, I can only write words. Bow." Jiang Qian's eyes stung. The author finally got their act together. Thank goodness, thank the world, thank everything. Now he'd have something to look forward to every day. For the next 2 weeks, Cheng Ling had a strict routine. She'd get up early, jog for an hour, then eat a high-protein breakfast before coding in her room. In the afternoon, she did flexibility exercises and more coding. She'd even had the housekeeper install a shooting simulator. After exercising, she'd play the game for a bit. In the evening, she'd chat with her sister and mom and watch cheesy TV shows. And occasionally, she'd secretly hack into the Cheng Group's system to fix a few bugs. Ever since the Cheng Group added that crazy code protection, cyber attacks have been a joke. As the former head of the H Rangers, she was great at training people. She was training herself, but unfortunately, she wasn't gaining muscle mass quickly. Still, her fitness, flexibility, and strength were improving big time. She was nowhere near her agent form, but Cheng Ling was pretty sure she could take down 3 average-sized guys. On the 15th day after she came back, her manager finally texted, "Wang Zhen, be at the office by 10 a.m. tomorrow. I want to talk about the desperate survival promo shoot. Don't be late like you were for that photo shoot. And I want to talk about your next steps." This manager was a real trooper. Wang Zhen was always looking out for Cheng Ling, covering her butt, fixing her messes, coordinating schoolwork, artist relationships, company promotions, buying up good PR, and burying the bad. Cheng Ling, got it. I'll be there. Thanks for the heads up. She set down her phone and got into plank position, 10 sets of planks, then crunches, then sit-ups. Late that night, for the first time in 2 weeks, she logged back into Weibo and posted. The next day, after her workout and breakfast, Cheng Ling headed to the office to see her agent. She was signed with Xingyao Fengxing Entertainment, a mid-sized company. The driver today was the most unique of the family's 3 drivers. He was around 40, with a scar running from his left temple to the corner of his mouth. It wasn't menacing, just striking. He wore his hair in a ponytail and gave off a "don't mess with me" vibe. The car pulled up to the company, and Scarface got out to open the door for Cheng Ling. She grabbed her bag and ducked out. Before she could stand up straight, she saw something heading her way. Cheng Ling's face hardened, ready to dodge, but Scarface stepped in front of her, snatched the object out of the air. It was a rotten egg, unbroken. Cheng Ling looked at the driver, surprised. Dude had skills. A group of girls, stopped by security, were screaming, "Cheng Ling, stay away from my man." Cheng Ling walked over, tilting her head. Which one? She'd done her research and made a list of all the guys she'd chased. At least 8 or 9. She had no idea which one these girls were talking about. The girls. Shameless. Arrogant. Slut. A smooth, helpless voice came from behind. "What are you doing here again? I told you, I can handle it. You don't need to worry about fans. Live, work, study hard. I can take care of myself." The girls, eyes sparkling, turned back. "Okay. Muchuan, we love you. Muchuan, I want to have your babies." Cheng Ling raised an eyebrow. Wait, was that Bai Muchuan? He was back from Haisher, too. Bai Muchuan gave the fans a few comforting words, then turned to Cheng Ling with a helpless look. "I think that's the only bad thing about being too handsome. People want to knock me down every day. Miss Cheng, please try to behave and not cause trouble for others." Scarface, maybe he should behave and not hit on my boss just because she's pretty. And maybe his fans should stop harassing my family, for once. Bai Muchuan's smile froze on his face. What the hell? This was just a driver, he wasn't in a position to give him a lecture. And boss? Did he think he was in a gangster movie? But he just thought about it and didn't dare to get excited. He wanted to maintain his gentle prince persona. He glanced at Cheng Ling. She'd chased after him online, and then, the moment she heard he was doing desperate survival, she'd hired a driver. Sure enough, Cheng Ling pulled out her phone. "Hey, it's me. The driver who just dropped me off. Scarface. You know the one?" Bai Muchuan smirked at Scarface. "See? You shouldn't have pissed me off," Cheng Ling went on. "I really like him. I want to give him a bonus. 100 grand this month." "Thank you, miss," the driver said evenly. "Bai Muchuan, you." Finally, Xian stopped and coughed lightly. "You chased me all the way to Haisher and almost died, didn't you learn anything?" Bai Muchuan said. Cheng Ling rolled her eyes. "Who said I went into the sea for you? I was after that jerk. Don't flatter yourself." Bai Muchuan's face turned green. Cheng Ling was done with him. She waved the driver on and went inside. The moment she stepped into her agent's office, she heard Wang Zhen's low, angry growl. "Cheng Ling, please stop posting stuff on Weibo, okay? You're a disaster for me." Chapter 13, Jumping Off a Building. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Last night, Cheng Ling broke her half-month social media silence with a photo on Weibo. It was a snapshot of her running, dressed in simple, chic sportswear. Caption, "Destined to win." In the photo, her high ponytail showed off her clean forehead, and her makeup-free face was slightly sweaty. The comment section quickly filled with taunts. Wang Zhen, Cheng Ling's agent, stayed up all night trying to delete the negative comments. After half an hour, she gave up, realizing she couldn't keep up. The positive reviews she'd paid a PR firm for were useless, so she temporarily disabled the comments. Wouldn't you be better off just playing dumb and vicious? Why join a show like Survival? Is Bai Muchuan really worth it? Just wait to get cancelled after this. So you bought your way into the show. This kind of survival program needs drama to be popular, which means high risk. After signing the waiver, don't come crying when things go wrong. If a guest's life is in danger, your family won't be able to escape responsibility as the investor. And let's be real, with your popularity, how well do you expect to do on the show? That everyone was sure the other contestants would team up against Cheng Ling. It didn't take a genius to see how isolated she'd be. Wang Zhen was livid. Do you think these opportunities just fall out of the sky? Your father paid for them. You've been in the industry for 18 months and made like 300 grand, while your family's lost 20 million. This show is a live, and censored, wilderness survival challenge, girl. You'd probably die if you got stranded in a city center with no money, and now you think you can hack it in the wilderness. I gotta hand it to you for sheer audacity. Wang Jin was exhausted, she couldn't fathom what the Qing family was thinking. Why not just lock her up at home instead of letting her run around causing trouble? Cheng Ling sat quietly on the sofa, head down, looking demure. No one knew what she was thinking. Finally, Wang Jin said, "Here's my advice, girls should play it cool, not be so aggressive. Bai Muchuan's cute, sure, but chasing him this hard is just embarrassing." Thinking of the oily, ingratiating Bai Muchuan she just bumped into at the door, Cheng Ling couldn't help but think it was too easy for male celebrities in mainland China these days. After her rant, Wang Jin's throat felt parched. Cheng Ling promptly handed her a glass of water. "Here, Sister Zhen, drink some water." The temperature was perfect. Wang Jin took a long sip, feeling her anger subside. Cheng Ling continued, "I used to be a little selfish and clueless, but rest assured, Sister Zhen, I won't do anything out of line again. And I'm done with that Bai Muchuan, that white-cut chicken." That white-cut chicken, Wang Jin glanced at Cheng Ling. Something about her felt different today. She was actually listening without stomping off in a huff, acting and speaking like an adult. Was she finally getting it? Wang Jin was about to say more when her phone rang. She looked at the screen and muttered, "Decay. What does he want now?" Decay was Bai Muchuan's agent. "Wang Jin, can you control Cheng Ling?" Decay roared. Wang Jin was silent. Her relief had lasted all of 3 seconds. Hanging up, Wang Jin braced herself to rip into Cheng Ling, but Cheng Ling spoke first. "Sister Zhen, this wasn't my fault. Bai Muchuan's fans were throwing eggs at me, and my driver stopped them. I didn't say anything, I just gave my driver a bonus." Fiercely protective of her clients, Wang Jin was instantly outraged. She jumped up. "I'm going to see Decay right now." That she could yell at her clients all she wanted, but nobody else could say a word. Cheng Ling shrugged and obediently followed Wang Jin out of the office. Decay's office was on the top floor, where the company's biggest stars had their dressing rooms. The elevator had another passenger. Cheng Ling couldn't help staring, even though it was the end of August in Fengcheng, and so hot you could get heatstroke. This person was bundled up in a baseball cap, mask, and sports jacket, hands in their pockets, staring at the floor. The elevator stopped on the 28th floor, so they were going to the same place. Wang Jin was still lecturing Cheng Ling, but Cheng Ling kept her eye on the bundled-up stranger. "We're here, 28th floor." The elevator doors opened. Cheng Ling and Wang Jin stepped out, followed by the masked figure. They didn't look around, but walked straight to a bench in the public lounge. Decay's office was next to the lounge. Wang Jin knocked. "Come in," a voice said from inside. Cheng Ling looked away. Wang Jin opened the door. Decay stood up as soon as he saw her. "Wang Jin, you're the one complaining. It's Bai Muchuan who can't control his fans, who came to the company to cause trouble, and you have the nerve to blame us." Decay, if your Cheng Ling weren't so desperate to hang all over Bai Muchuan, his fans wouldn't even know she existed. Wang Jin, don't even. You think I don't know you paid for those trending searches, using Cheng Ling to promote your guy? They started arguing, while Cheng Ling stood by the door, pretending to listen, but actually watching the person on the bench. They didn't look like an artist, an agent, or regular staff. They radiated hostility. Something was off. Just then, the elevator chimed again. A stunning woman with a tiny waist and long, wavy hair stepped out. It was Bai Qingcen, the company's most popular actress, Bai Muchuan's sister. Bai Qingcen saw Cheng Ling standing at Decay's door and scoffed. Had this shameless woman chased her brother all the way up here? She sashayed past the lounge toward Cheng Ling. As she passed the bench, the figure in the baseball cap leaped up like a coiled spring. They pulled a hand from their pocket, holding a sharp knife. Cheng Ling gasped. Before she could react, the figure grabbed Bai Qingcen's hair, pulled her close, and held the knife to her neck. Bai Qingcen screamed. The person said in a hoarse voice, "Princess Xiaoyang, you shouldn't trust General Qin. He married you to steal your father's kingdom." Cheng Ling, who was witnessing everything, this was a crazed, brain-dead TV fan. Struggling, Bai Qingchen knocked off the person's cap, revealing bloodshot eyes. The knife had already cut into Bai Qingchen's neck, office doors burst open, and everyone froze. Princess Xiaoyang, come with me. I'll treat you right. Terrified by the blood, Bai Qingchen's high heel snapped. She leaned on the deranged fan, neck craned awkwardly, face streaming with tears. The person dragged Bai Qingchen to the window overlooking the city. It was 100 meters to the ground. Princess Xiaoyang, I'll take you far away. With that, they were about to jump. Everyone was stunned, including Bai Muchuan and many agents and artists. Decay, Bai Qingchen's agent, felt his blood pressure spike. He stepped forward. Sir, let's talk. If you want money, I can get you money. Get away. Get away. The person screamed, I don't want money, I just want Princess Xiaoyang. That the person was clearly insane, dragging Bai Qingchen toward the window. It was too late. Cheng Ling suddenly threw her head back and laughed. Everyone stopped, including the crazed person. Everyone stared at Cheng Ling, who was now laughing hysterically. When she finally stopped, she looked at the person with a mix of pity and sarcasm, then said, slowly and deliberately, you idiot, do you really think you can just take Princess Xiaoyang like that? Do you have any idea how many archers are waiting in ambush? Archers. Wang Zhen was stunned, but then she understood. Cold sweat broke out on her skin. Cheng Ling was trying to draw the person into the drama, to buy time to save Bai Qingchen. But the risk was enormous. If the person didn't play along and jumped anyway, Cheng Ling would be finished, completely ruined. Chapter 14 I can only blame my parents for giving birth to me who is too handsome. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The smartest move right now is to sit tight and wait for the pros to handle it. Wang Zhen's face was pale with worry. Cheng Ling, however, ignored her agent's anxiety. She just stared at the eager fans, her mind racing. She was a top-notch agent, but before that, she'd aced countless psych evaluations, sailed through police academy exams, and successfully rescued hostages more times than she could count. So, a crazed fan? No problem. Even if he had a whole squad of backup, Cheng Ling figured she had a solid 30% chance of getting the star out safely. She was a natural leader, a true professional. If she was in peak physical condition, that number would be closer to 100, but even after a brutal half-month training blitz, relying on brute force to save the actress unscathed was a pipe dream, so, she'd have to talk him down. A flicker of confusion crossed the fan's face. Who are you? Cheng Ling smirked, jammed her hands in her pockets, and sauntered towards them, radiating a you seriously don't know vibe. Who am I? Seriously? Let's just say, General Qin wouldn't dare look me in the eye. The fan's face hardened. Are you Empress Duan? Everyone else just stared. Is this for real? Are you blind? Cheng Ling thought, Queen Duan. What the hell is that? But kept her cool, maintaining a wild expression. Her eyes narrowed. She stepped forward like royalty, dripping with sarcasm and a touch of madness. You wonder why Princess Xiaoyang hasn't run off in years? Because I poisoned her. If she misses a dose of the antidote, she's a goner. You idiot. You think General Qin will kill her, and you're trying to save her. You're the one killing Princess Xiaoyang. At least General Qin lets her live a few more days. What are you, some jumped-up nobody, thinking you can play hero? The final sarcastic ha sent chills down everyone's spines. Even people who knew better were getting sucked into her performance. The man swallowed hard and demanded, give me the antidote. Cheng Ling scoffed. You think I'd carry something that important around with me? You want the antidote? Come with me. He hesitated. But you hate Princess Xiaoyang. You want her dead. So why would you give me the antidote? Damn it. This nutjob still has some brain cells firing. Cheng Ling nonchalantly checked her nails and looked at the man sideways. I'm sweet on General Qin. Princess Xiaoyang's death would make things easier for me, but taking her alive would be even better. He thought for a moment, nodded, and started moving, dragging Bai Qingchen along. Bai Qingchen stumbled, tears streaming down her face. Her makeup was ruined, and she looked at Cheng Ling with pleading eyes. Just as he cleared the observation deck's flashing lights, Cheng Ling sprang into action. With lightning speed, she grabbed his wrist and squeezed. A sickening crack echoed in the air. The knife clattered to the ground. She yanked Bai Qingchen behind her and swung her leg up, kicking the man's head with all her might. He dropped like a sack of potatoes, without so much as a whimper. The scene was frozen. Then, Bai Qingchen's scream snapped everyone back to reality. Ah! Bai Muchuan charged forward. Sis! Are you okay? Are you hurt? Qingchen. 10 minutes later, police sirens wailed as the cops hauled away the babbling, twitching fan. Bai Qingchen, Cheng Ling, and a few shell-shocked managers were taken in as well, unnoticed. A cell phone had captured the whole thing. Bai Qingchen was in shock, barely able to speak. The cut on her neck was minor, but she clung to Cheng Ling's hand, shaking like a leaf. No amount of coaxing could make her let go. Cheng Ling gently patted her shoulder, shook her head at the others, and whispered, "Don't be scared. I won't leave you. I'll be right here. It's okay. You're safe now." Bai Qingchen, who usually made a fortune, clung to Cheng Ling like a scared kid seeking comfort from their mom. Finally drifting off to sleep, the doctors and agents surged forward and gently placed Bai Qingchen on a stretcher. Cheng Ling carefully released her hand. The ambulance sped off with Bai Qingchen, siren screaming. Cheng Ling then followed her manager, Wang Zhen, to the police station to give a statement. "That was reckless," the officer told Cheng Ling. "The guy's got issues." "What if you'd set him off even more?" Cheng Ling shrugged. "He was about to jump with her. If I hadn't done something, it would have been over." The officer sighed. "Next time, well, hopefully there won't be a next time. Try to control your impulses. The chief wants to give you a bravery award. Come by in a few days to pick it up." Wang Zhen had looked shell-shocked the entire time. She robotically signed the statement and followed Cheng Ling out of the police station. Once they were outside, Wang Zhen let out a shaky breath. Her legs felt like jelly. Cheng Ling steadied her. "You okay, Zhen? You scared me half to death. What if he didn't buy the act and took Bai Qingchen? You'd be finished. My career would be over." Cheng Ling grinned. "Relax. That wasn't gonna happen." Wang Zhen just gaped at her unwavering confidence. Suddenly, a car roared towards them. A black Bentley screeched to a halt, leaving tire marks on the pavement. Cheng Baixing leaped out, yelling, "Cheng Ling! Amnesia isn't stopping you from getting into trouble." Wang Zhen, amnesia? What amnesia? Like, actual amnesia? Seeing the eldest Cheng brother looking like he was about to explode, Wang Zhen decided to shelve her questions and explain, Mr. Cheng, listen, it's not like." The Cheng family's eldest brother pulled out his wallet, looking like a total boss. "Just tell me who you roughed up this time. How much do I owe?" Cheng Ling looked at Cheng Baixing. He was a neat freak who always focused on appearance. Now his tie was crooked and there was an ink stain on his palm. His hair was a mess and his forehead was glistening with sweat. He'd clearly rushed straight from the office. Remembering that she'd once suspected him of trying to drown her, she felt a pang of guilt. Cheng Ling stepped forward, wrapped her arms around him, and buried her face in his chest. "Brother, I'm okay. Don't worry." The eldest Cheng brother stiffened. His little sister, who used to beg for piggyback rides, had suddenly grown up and stopped confiding in him. Now she just got into trouble all the time, but so what? She was still his favorite sister. He cleared his throat. "So, you caused a bit of a scene." It was a terrible attempt at sounding casual. Wang Zhen chimed in, "Mr. Cheng, Cheng Ling didn't cause any trouble. She was saving someone. It was a heroic act. The guy had a knife." The eldest Cheng brother turned pale. He grabbed Cheng Ling, checking her for injuries. Only when he was sure she was unharmed did he let Wang Zhen continue. As he heard the whole story, his jaw dropped. Cheng Ling, my timid, squeamish sister, single-handedly disarmed a guy with a knife, put on some kind of amazing performance, and saved Bai Qingchen from a crazed fan. Just then, a tall, thin figure emerged from the police station. Bai Muchuan glanced at Cheng's brother. Cheng's brother just gave him a blank look. Bai Muchuan turned to Cheng Ling. Thank you. Without you today, my sister. He couldn't finish the sentence. He and his sister had struggled to make it in the entertainment industry. They depended on each other. To Bai Muchuan, his sister was his only support. The eldest Cheng brother suddenly understood. Of course, my sister did it for this guy. She said she wasn't doing desperate survival because of Bai Muchuan. Guess that was a lie. What's so great about this scrawny hipster? Whatever. My sister likes him. If it gets serious, I'll just break her legs. Bai Muchuan continued. I knew you were into me, but I didn't realize you'd go this far. I can't offer you romance, but I promise to be nice to you in the future. Cheng Ling didn't know what to say. Bai Muchuan took a breath. My sister will repay you as well. Just don't get any ideas about us because of this. Cheng Ling rolled her eyes, flipped him the bird, and turned to leave, dragging Wang Zhen and her brother with her. Bai Muchuan watched them go, shaking his head. See? I knew Cheng Ling wouldn't give up on a hottie like me so easily. Bai Muchuan sighed. What could he do? He blamed his parents for making him so handsome. He glanced at his reflection in the police station's brown glass door and sighed. It was a tough life being him. Chapter 15 Recording a promotional video. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Brother Cheng dropped them off at the office and left, Cheng Ling closed the door and turned to Wang Zhen. Wang Zhen looked hesitant. Cheng Ling sighed. Brother Cheng's frantic mention of amnesia earlier hadn't escaped Wang Zhen's notice. Clearly bothered, Wang Zhen reached for one of the cigarettes meant for clients, her craving getting the better of her. As she raised it to her lips, a slender, white hand snatched it away. Cheng Ling tossed the cigarette in the trash. Sister Zhen, aren't you trying to get pregnant? You really shouldn't be smoking. How did you know? Wang Zhen asked, surprised. She had planned to tell Cheng Ling she was quitting to focus on starting a family. Cheng Ling gestured toward several books in the cabinet, like Pregnancy Preparation for Dummies and What to Eat When You're Expecting, then pointed to a small, discreet medicine bottle in the corner. The label read, Folic Acid for Pregnancy. When had Cheng Ling become so observant? When had she started caring about others so much? Or, was it all an act? Cheng Ling's expression remained calm and neutral. Sister Zhen, if you have questions, just ask. I heard Kay talking about how you secretly went to Haishur to see Bai Muchuan and almost died. Cheng Ling nodded, admitting it. That's what happened. Wang Zhen looked at her, still uncertain. Your brother said you have amnesia. Is that true? Wang Zhen asked, adding quickly, of course, you don't have to tell me if you don't want to. I've been wanting a break anyway. Cheng Ling responded earnestly, Sister Zhen, how about you keep me on for another month? If you're not happy with me after that, we can go our separate ways. Wang Zhen was a good agent. If Cheng Ling wanted to fulfill the original owner's dream and succeed in the entertainment industry, she needed a reliable agent. The amnesia would come out eventually. To keep her agent, she had to be honest, so, Cheng Ling told Wang Zhen the whole story, how she'd accidentally fallen into the water and lost her memory, and how she couldn't remember anything. She also explained that Bai Muchuan was involved in her drowning in Haishur. Wang Zhen didn't seem shocked, but she frowned. You? Drowning? Wang Zhen shook her head, tapping her fingers. It doesn't feel like an accident. Cheng Ling raised an eyebrow. Wang Zhen waved her hand. Do you think I stuck by you all this time just for the money? Wang Zhen looked at Cheng Ling's blank face, toying with her lighter. You really did lose your memory. I once went out with a film crew and fell into a reservoir. You were the only one around. You pulled me out. I always thought you were a natural in the water. Cheng Ling was surprised. Shimon's villa in Haishur, right? Wang Zhen paused. I'll try to track down the nanny or the band they hired for the party and see what I can find out. In villas that celebrities only use occasionally, there's usually just one person looking after the place. But for big parties, they hire extra staff from local agencies for things like cleaning. These temporary workers tend to gossip. It wouldn't be easy to keep them quiet entirely. Wang Zhen was sharp. Cheng Ling liked that. Smart people were easier to deal with. Sister Zhen, it's okay. I've already asked my dad to look into it, Cheng Ling said, winking. Wang Zhen eyed her. Is your amnesia some kind of new artistic trend? I want to get all our artists an amnesia package, Wang Zhen joked. Then, more seriously, she added, but you really need to be careful. You don't realize how messed up this industry can be until you've been around for a while. I'll stick around for now. She was staying to help Cheng Ling. Too bad Cheng Ling didn't care. Her feelings of goodwill were almost gone from the damage they'd inflicted on each other. Wang Zhen thought, * 1 month. Just 1 month, the next morning, after giving some instructions, Wang Zhen sent someone to take Cheng Ling to the studio to film a promotional video before Desperate Survival aired. The director would also give them some pointers about participating in the show. The studio was huge and located on the west side of the city. The staff were busy with preparations. All 6 guests arrived before the scheduled time, except for the 7th, who was still being kept a secret. Old Turtle Dove was a middle-aged man in his 40s with a narrow face, small eyes, sparse eyebrows, a very dark complexion, and high cheekbones. He looked like a laborer who had been working in the fields for a long time. He refused makeup and sat alone in the corner with his arms crossed, lost in thought. Retired female athlete Lu Zhan, a parkour expert, and Lu Dengfeng, a coach at the physical training center, were around the same age, mid-20s. They both loved sports and had a lot in common. After some light makeup, they chatted enthusiastically. Cheng Ling arrived 10 minutes early. She opened the door and greeted everyone. Hi everyone, I'm Cheng Ling. Sorry I'm a little late. Not at all, the art director in charge of guest relations said, stepping forward. You're 10 minutes early. The 3 sports experts looked up at Cheng Ling. They were taken aback by how beautiful she was in person. The old man in the corner lifted his eyelids, glanced at her, and went back to ignoring her. Yang Zhao looked Cheng Ling up and down, pausing slightly at her slender limbs and waist, then turned away with a pout. Yang Zhao loved extreme sports. She retired due to an injury, but had always longed for excitement. So when the program team approached her and explained their intentions, she agreed without hesitation. The program team repeatedly guaranteed that survival would be real and thrilling. But why would the program hire a delicate female star? She was probably the type to faint at the sight of an earthworm, let alone survive in the wilderness. She would ruin the experience. Lu Zhan, who had transitioned from parkour to acting, had been told by his agent to be humble. Cheng Ling might be an unknown actress now, but that didn't mean she would always be. Today's nobody could be tomorrow's star. So, when Cheng Ling greeted him, Lu Zhan smiled warmly and offered his hand. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Lu Zhan. Cheng Ling smiled and shook his hand. Hello. Looking forward to working with you. The physical trainer, LV Dengfeng, greeted her with a hearty laugh. You look even better in person. Then, he pulled out a notebook and pen from his jacket. Can I get your autograph? A friend of mine is a huge fan. When he heard I was on the show, he begged me to ask you. Of course, Cheng Ling smiled. My pleasure. She took the pen and notebook and carefully signed her name. As she handed back the notebook, the door opened again. Bai Muchuan arrived. The atmosphere in the room shifted. Everyone knew Cheng Ling had been pursuing Bai Muchuan lately. Bai Muchuan glanced at Cheng Ling. His sister had told him to look out for Cheng Ling. After all, she'd saved her life, but... Bai Muchuan looked at the gossiping eyes and hesitated. What if Cheng Ling came on to him? Before Bai Muchuan could dwell on it, he saw Cheng Ling nod slightly before turning to ask a staff member something. She didn't throw herself at him as he'd feared. Bai Muchuan breathed a sigh of relief. He went to fill out his information with the staff. Everyone else seemed a little disappointed. The drama they'd been expecting didn't happen. Ms. Cheng, please come with me for makeup. Cheng Ling went to the dressing room, where the makeup artist greeted her with a smile. The makeup artist knew about Flower of Evil, but she didn't show any negativity and was enthusiastic. Oh my, your skin is amazing. Flawless. And your eyes are so pretty, with a natural pink hue. And your lips are perfect. no need for gloss, Cheng Ling responded politely. Thank you. I have a request, though. Could you keep it light? It's a wilderness survival show, after all. The makeup artist paused with the brush. Usually, female stars asked to be glammed up to the max for variety shows, hoping to make a splash, but this Cheng Ling was different from the rumors. She was polite, courteous, and not vain. A good girl, feeling a little fond of Cheng Ling, the makeup artist opened another cosmetic box and carefully applied a very light makeup that was barely noticeable. After Cheng Ling was ready, the assistant director took the 6 guests to the recording studio next door. The director was already waiting inside. He was a man in his 50s with graying hair, thick eyebrows, and big eyes, wearing a green vest with many pockets. Deep lines creased his forehead, giving off a powerful aura. Chapter 16. I have strong muscles. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay everyone, I'm the on-site director for this show. Let's go over the rules. First off, our show is unscripted. So, no need to worry about that. Lu Dengfeng, a little over the top, patted his chest. Phew, that's a relief. I'm a terrible actor, a real straight shooter. I'd be afraid of getting roasted for bad acting. Director, he smiled thinly, then turned serious. I think you've all probably been online lately. There might be some negativity floating around about certain team members, considering the age and gender differences. Let me make this clear, we won't be giving anyone preferential treatment, no matter what. We're holding everyone to the same standard. We won't lower the bar for anyone. Everyone's eyes immediately went to Cheng Ling. Then to Bai Muchuan. Cheng Ling acted like she had no idea she was being singled out and listened intently to Director He. Bai Muchuan looked displeased. Director He paused, and seeing no reaction from either of them, continued, I expect everyone to be themselves. We want to show the raw reality of surviving in the wild. We want to tap into that survival instinct we all have. Before we start filming, the production team will teach you some basic survival skills. We're heading to an undeveloped jungle. We've rigged the whole place with recording equipment. This show will be broadcast live online, no editing. Keep that in mind. This is going to be tough, so you need to be mentally prepared. After his speech, Director He had each team member record a short promotional video. Old Turtle Dove went first. Director He pulled Cheng Ling aside to the staff lounge. Cheng Ling called out obediently, how's the guide doing? Director He, without any expression, replied okay. I wanted to talk to you alone. Desperate Survival is a project I've been planning for 3 years. Honestly, I wasn't thrilled about having you here, but the investor insisted. They offered the program an irresistible amount. Director He watched Cheng Ling's face. Logically, if an investor was backing her, Cheng Ling would be offered the lead in some big-budget drama or a cute supporting role. Or at least a light-hearted variety show. This kind of grueling survival show seemed like a weird fit. Cheng Ling responded sincerely, I'm grateful to the investors for their support, and to everyone who's helped me. I'll give it my all. Director He paused. I just want to remind you to take care of yourself and try not to get hurt. Our show is very real, and that means it can be dangerous. We won't stop just because someone gets a boo-boo. Filming starts in 3 days. If you want to back out, now's the time. Cheng Ling smiled. Quit? No way. You'll be begging me to come back for the next season. Director He was taken aback. That confident, huh? Cheng Ling blinked. The next season's team will probably offer me a fortune to come back. Director He was speechless. Because Cheng Ling was participating, the show added a medical staff position, fearing the delicate actress would get hurt, but the cute little girl went on Weibo and announced that she would win the championship. Seeing Director He's disbelief, Cheng Ling rolled up her sleeves and made a fist, trying to flex her bicep. Don't worry, I'm tough. Look at my muscles. Director He looked at her skinny arms. Her biceps were nowhere to be found, they just weren't there. White, delicate, and frail, Cheng Ling looked like an eager kid waiting for praise, squeezing her bicep hard. Director He just stared blankly, not knowing what to say. So? What do you think, Director He? Director He could only nod vaguely. Aha. An assistant came over and said, Director sorry to bother you, but it's Cheng's turn to record the video. Director breathed a sigh of relief. Cheng Ling flashed an enormous grin at Director gotta go. I'll keep working out so my muscles get bigger before we start filming. Then she clenched her fist and bent her arm, trying to flex, still nothing. Please just go, okay? Director waved his hand weakly. Cheng Ling had chosen sky blue sportswear today to highlight her waist and long legs. As she walked into the studio, the cameraman discreetly exclaimed hello and started angling the camera toward her face. A man with his arms crossed, wearing glasses, sat in the corner. No one introduced Cheng Ling. After Cheng Ling walked in, the cameraman told her to sit on the stool in the middle. A staff member came over with a notebook and a sign that read publicity. Zhao Xiaoyu. Zhao Xiaoyu told Cheng Ling, I'll ask you 3 questions. Don't be nervous. We can re-record if you mess up. Cheng Ling nodded. The camera crew got ready. She sat on the stool, facing the camera. Please introduce yourself briefly. Hi everyone, I'm Cheng Ling, I'm 21, and I'm a student and a part-time actress. I usually play the bad guy. Laughs. Why did you want to be on this survival show? I love nature. And, of course, to get my name out there. I really don't want to just play villains forever. I'm hoping this show will open up some doors. Do you think anyone will get eliminated? Who do you think will be the first to go? And why? Cheng Ling laughed inwardly. Talk about a loaded question. She pretended to be clueless, tilting her head and putting on an innocent expression. Everyone is so talented. I don't think anyone will drop out. Zhao Xiaoyu, holding her notebook behind the camera, couldn't help rolling her eyes. After playing ruthless villains for years, why are you playing innocent now? Zhao Xiaoyu continued, so, who do you think will win? You said on Weibo that you were going to win. You must be pretty confident. The man in the corner glanced at Zhao Xiaoyu. Even the cameraman frowned. What Cheng Ling said on Weibo could have been a joke or a publicity stunt, but putting it in the promotional video felt like a low blow. Cheng Ling batted her big eyes and said, Of course I'm confident. Because I'm going to win. Pooh. Zhao Xiaoyu couldn't hold back a snort. Where did this attention-seeking little kid come from? Even adults have more tact than that. Besides, you, Cheng Ling, the actress with no brains and no talent, dare to say you'll win in front of 4 pro athletes? That's hilarious. The other contestants had been humble and respectful, praising each other. 4 out of the other 6 contestants picked her as the first to go. Yang Zhao even said she wouldn't last a day. Oh, sorry, Zhao Xiaoyu said, but she didn't look sorry at all, and her face was full of amusement. At that moment, the man in the corner stood up. Zhao Xiaoyu immediately stopped laughing and adopted a subservient posture. Producer Lin. Oh, the producer. On many shows, the producer wields more power than the director. Producer Lin ignored Zhao Xiaoyu and walked to the camera. He said to Cheng Ling, saying that won't help our publicity. Please re-record the last question. Cheng Ling replied, wouldn't it get more attention? If everyone is nice and agreeable, where's the hook? If there aren't 1 or 2 talking points in the early publicity, it'll sink without a trace. Producer Lin glanced at her. Of course, he knew that saying this would create more buzz, but unless Cheng Ling actually won, it would become a laughingstock. As long as she stayed in the entertainment industry, this joke would follow her. No matter how successful she became, the haters would always bring up her arrogance and call her out, and it was highly unlikely that this Cheng Ling would ever achieve anything. Chapter 17 Live Eating Shit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why'd you sign up for this show? Producer Lin asked point blank. I heard it was for Bai Muchuan. Cheng Ling shook her head. Nah, that was just to match the company's hype. She pulled out the talking points Wang Zhen had prepped for her. Since they were both under the same company, any buzz would naturally benefit everyone. But, my agent said this isn't good for my long-term career, so we're not playing that game anymore. You can relax, Producer Lin. Producer Lin still seemed a little worried. After all, Cheng Ling had a decent reputation. Cheng Ling continued, look, wanting to be popular is one thing. But I also want to use this as a chance to reinvent myself. I'm hoping to get some exposure and maybe snag some new roles from producers and directors. She said it seriously, her eyes clear and direct. Producer Lin didn't say anything. After a moment, he turned to Zhao Jingyuan and said, "Keep recording. Try to have a professional attitude, cooperate with the other guests, and don't let any of this affect your performance." Then, he opened the door and left. Zhao Xian's face flushed red and then turned white. That night, the promo video for Desperate Survival dropped. Out of the 4-minute video, Cheng Ling got nearly 3 minutes. The comment section was a total dumpster fire. OMG. Cheng Ling, you sneaky little snake, is totally stealing the spotlight. Blah blah blah, talking about making a show, then suddenly wants to reinvent herself. Honey, they asked you to play the villain, maybe look inward. Seriously. I'm getting second-hand embarrassment. Where did this goody two-shoes come from? Gag me. Like she's the only one who can be the winner. Get real, girl, can't wait to see Cheng Ling crash and burn. Live stream locked for September 16th. I got the popcorn ready. Why is Cheng Ling so thirsty lately? Who uncorked her? Props to the show for keeping the mystery guest a secret. No info whatsoever. I'm so curious. To the commenter above, don't get your hopes up. Probably just some washed-up celeb trying to make a comeback. The rest of the cast felt like they were getting the short end of the stick. It wasn't that the show was doing a good job keeping it a secret, it was that they didn't even know who the mystery guest was. Fu Yibin, the heir to Xingyao Group, kept hinting that it had to be a big name, and kept saying they should get ready for the launch. But, we don't even know who this big shot is, so we can't even hype them up. Producer Lin sighed. Fu Yibin clapped Producer Lin on the shoulder. Relax, Lin. This guy doesn't need publicity. The second he announces he's on the show, we're going viral. Producer Lin gave a weak smile. Alright, if you guys don't need me anymore, I'm heading out. Producer Lin held out his hand. Hold on a sec. But Fu Yibin was already in the elevator. Fu Yibin acted like he was in no rush, but he was freaking out. He pretended to be confident to keep morale up, but he'd called Jiang Qilan 1,000,000 times, and still no confirmation. And the show was about to start. If he didn't get an answer, they wouldn't even have time to find a replacement. Fu Yibin jumped in the car and immediately called Jiang Qilan. As soon as he picked up, Fu Yibin practically begged, "Dude, please, I need an answer ASAP." Jiang Qilan thought he'd messed with him enough, and said casually, "Fine, I'll do it." For real? Yeah, for real. Fu Yibin still couldn't believe it. Man, I need you to be serious. If I say anything, you're not going to back out. Keep nagging me, and I might change my mind. Never mind, thanks a million, bro. Fu Yibin was so happy he almost cried. He hung up and immediately called Producer Lin to tell him the good news. Lin, I can tell you who the mystery guest is, but you gotta keep it on the DL. Producer Lin was relieved and promised, "Don't worry, my lips are sealed." Jiang Qilan. Fu Yibin announced proudly. Producer Lin closed his eyes. This Fu Yibin was a rich kid known for being a playboy. He'd personally visited to ask He Tuashan to be on the show, and worked hard to get involved with the crew. Seeing how sincere he was, Producer Lin thought maybe he wasn't as unreliable as everyone said, but he was wrong. Dead wrong. Jiang Qilan had been super famous since he was 19. Won tons of awards. Humble, good actor, and no one had a bad thing to say about him. The paparazzi had camped out for years and never found a single scandal. And now, this guy was telling him he'd agreed to be on this low-budget show. Fu Yibin was still waiting for the enthusiastic reaction. Instead, after a minute of silence, Producer Lin's voice, filled with disappointment and despair, came over the line. "Fu, are you messing with me?" Producer Lin said, each word carefully enunciated. "If Jiang Qilan shows up, I'll eat dirt on live TV." Then he hung up. Fu Yibin stared at his phone. Lin had hung up on him. He called back, furious. Sorry, the number you have dialed is no longer in service. Damn it. He'd blocked him. Fine, fine, you asked for this, Fu Yibin angrily called Jiang Qilan, a wicked smile spreading across his face. The production team was going full speed with the final preparations. The show was launching soon. From the supervisors and producers to the props, costume, and medical teams, everyone was busy. Supervisor Lin was shouting commands, camera 3, camera 3. What's that angle gonna get us? The guest's feet? Lift that thing up. Producer Lin, Shangwu ran up, clutching his phone like it was made of gold. What is it? Producer Lin grabbed his thermos and took a swig of water. His lips were chapped from yelling all day. Shangwu looked terrified, like the phone was a bomb. Covering the mouthpiece, he stuttered, It's Jiang Qilan, the actor Jiang, he wants to talk to you. Pooh, Producer Lin spat out a mouthful of water. Who? Jiang Qilan. Shangwu nodded furiously. Producer Lin took the phone, looking like he was in shock, and held it to his ear. Hello. This is Lin Su-nan. Who's this? A smooth, magnetic voice came over the line. Producer Lin, hello. It's Jiang Qilan. Sorry to bother you. Producer Lin straightened up immediately. There wasn't anyone in the industry who wouldn't recognize that voice. At the same time, a tiny spark of hope flickered in his chest. Could Fu Yibin have been right? Producer Lin couldn't hide his excitement and stammered, Hey, is this really? Mr. Jiang. I never expected you to call a small-time producer like me. You wouldn't happen to want to join my little show, Survival, would you? Haha. As a matter of fact, Jiang Qilan said, I was hoping the last guest spot for Survival was still open. Sorry, I couldn't confirm my schedule until now, so I. At hashtag you and hashtag at hashtag. Sorry to bother you. Really? Really, yes. Lin's brain short-circuited with the good news. Jiang's explanation turned into gibberish. Jiang Qilan waited for a response, but there was only silence. He said, hello. Lin opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Is there a problem? Jiang Qilan asked. Any reason I can't join? Lin fought the urge to jump for joy. He still wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page to avoid any future issues. No, Mr. Jiang, I need to be clear about something. This is a wilderness survival show. The conditions are extremely difficult and could even be dangerous. The show has a limited budget. Mr. Jiang is a valuable asset. If you got hurt, we couldn't afford to pay for it. And, everyone who joins the cast signs a safety waiver. Guests are voluntarily participating and can't back out mid-season. Injuries or death due to unforeseen circumstances are the guests' responsibility. The show bought some token insurance for the guests, but Jiang Qilan probably wouldn't bother with that level of coverage. But Jiang Qilan only chuckled. It's alright, Producer Lin. I've looked into the show, and I understand all of that. I accept it. Actually, I'll bring a professional medical accident insurance team over to be safe. What do you think? What did he think? He wanted to kneel. This guy was a gift from the heavens. A big star, no pay, funding, and a professional team to keep everything on track. Director Lin wiped tears of joy from his eyes. Then welcome, Mr. Jiang. Thank you, Producer Lin. Since I'm joining last minute, please update the cast list. I'll take care of the announcements, online promotion, and trending topics. Good. Producer Lin stammered. Finally, Jiang Qilan said politely, Producer Lin, one more thing I wanted to ask you. Yes. That pleading tone confused Producer Lin. Just name it. Please don't eat dirt on live TV, Jiang Qilan said. Okay. By the time he understood, Jiang Qilan had hung up. So much for Jiang Qilan being cold and distant. Turns out he was a prankster. Laughing and crying, he unblocked Fu Yibin, dial, hang up, repeated 5 times, so cold. So cruel. Chapter 18 officially launched. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No wonder Jiang Qilan always dodged calls, turns out, hanging up is so satisfying. Fu Yibin smirked, but he still needed producer Lin to get his show off the ground so he could impress his dad. After hanging up 5 times, he sent Lin an emoji, brother Bin's got you, middle finger salute. JPG. Producer Lin sighed in relief and quickly sent a message, practically begging for forgiveness. He hoped Mr. Rich Guy wouldn't hold a grudge, but pleaded with him to at least answer his phone if anything important came up. When he called again, Fu Yibin finally picked up. Fu Yibin said icily, "We had a deal about eating dirt on camera." Producer Lin chuckled nervously. "Relax, I'm too old for that crap. If I get accused of spreading filth again, the show's in trouble. Then buy me dinner. I want 3 kilos of your sister-in-law's short ribs from last time." Producer Lin readily agreed to the ribs and got to the point. Jiang Qilan's joined the show. "What's our budget looking like?" The show's budget was already tight, with daily filming costs running into the hundreds of thousands. He was terrified he couldn't afford someone like Jiang Qilan. Right now, they only had 3 million left, barely enough for a 10-second cameo from a big star like Jiang. Jiang Qilan's actually investing in the show. 0 appearance fee, no commission. Producer Lin nearly choked. He felt like he'd won the lottery. Holy crap, Jiang Qilan, a friggin' movie god he'd never even dream of reaching. An investor. Working for free. But he still gets a cut of the profits. If they make money, he gets paid. If they lose, too bad for him. Producer Lin just stared, dumbstruck. His brain exploded with fireworks. On an otherwise normal weekday afternoon, a bunch of bored people pulled out their phones, ready for a little social media scrolling, except Weibo kept buffering. Is it just me, or is Weibo down? Mine too. Can't connect. Must be some juicy gossip dropping. Hold up, saw a screenshot on Douban. It's Jiang Qilan, freaking Jiang Qilan. Best actor Jiang. What? Jiang's got a scandal? Nope, not gonna bite. Jiang's my eternal golden boy. Listen up, Jiang Qilan just announced. No. I won't listen. Arg, no woman can have him. Jiang Qian's back in China. And he just announced he's doing a reality show. Didn't Jiang say he'd never do reality TV? What show is it? What made Jiang change his mind? Jiang Qilan officially joined Desperate Survival. Anyone know what Desperate Survival even is? Desperate Survival, sounds familiar. Wait, is that the show that Flower of Evil is on? The outdoor survival one. Jiang Qilan. Run. She'll suck your soul. Weibo finally sprang back to life. Everyone frantically tapped the trending topics list. Top of the list. Jiang Qilan, thrilled to be joining Desperate Survival. Can't wait to see you all tomorrow. Tune in to the major live platforms at noon on September 16th. Web live broadcast link, web live broadcast link, web live broadcast link. What adventures await? Stay tuned. Jiang Qilan Studio, second trending topic. Desperate Survival scoop, Best Actor Jiang joins the show. He and 5 other guests will brave the primeval forest starting September 16th. Don't miss it. Website live broadcast link. Cheng Ling's celebratory Weibo post finally blew up, and Wang Zhen unlocked the comments again. But after Jiang Qian's announcement, swarms of Jiang's fans flooded her page. The comments. I'll be nice, just stay away from him. Don't even think about it. For your own good, back off. Cheng Ling, quit Desperate Survival now. I'll pay you. Plus, some new trending hashtags. Hashtag Desperate Survival new guest, Jiang Qilan, shocked.jpg, hashtag Variety shows Jiang Qilan once rejected hashtag, Hashtag desperate survival guest list, full of secrets. Hashtag, September 16th. Desperate Survival officially began filming. The agent dropped her star off at the Central Park in Xinjiang, just north of Maple City. In the SUV, Wang Jin gave Cheng Ling a last-minute pep talk. Try to avoid Jiang Qilan. His fans are crazy protective. Anyone who gets close to him gets roasted online. And by Muchuan. Stay away. Big K promised he'd keep Muchuan in line and that he'd try to be nice to you on camera. But no funny business. That turtle dove guy's an outdoor expert. If you can, team up with him. On and on she went. Cheng Ling plugged her ears. Wang Jin freaked. I'm being serious here. Pay attention. Relax, Wang Jin. I'm not teaming up with anyone. I'll survive solo, smiling all the way to the end. Cheng Ling had just bought herself another hour and 10 minutes of nagging. When the car finally pulled up to the park, Cheng Ling let out a sigh of relief, rubbing her abused ears. A row of black SUVs and camera trucks lined the park entrance, where the show's crew waited for the contestants to arrive. Cheng Ling, here are your clothes. Please put your personal items, cell phones, and all other communication devices in this bag. A crew member handed Cheng Ling 2 bags. One contained the uniform she'd wear on the show, and the other was empty. She nodded and followed the staff into a makeshift dressing room. She changed, stuffing her clothes, phone, and everything else into the empty bag. She pushed open the dressing room door and heard a wave of muffled screams outside. Jiang Qilan. Jiang Qilan. The door of a champagne-colored SUV swung open, and a tall figure stepped out. Sharp eyebrows, bright eyes, totally gorgeous. It was actor/singer Jiang Qilan. Jiang Qilan waved to the crew and the fans who had surged toward the barricade. The other contestants arrived one by one, changed, and climbed aboard a stretched-out bus under the staff's direction. Everyone donned matching, brightly colored outdoor gear, courtesy of the show's sponsor. 7 people in 7 colors, each with the sponsor's logo plastered on the back. The 3 outdoor enthusiasts took the first row. Cheng Ling and Old Turtle Dove sat in the second row. In the third row, Jiang Qilan, wearing sunglasses and a black mask with gray and white gear, sat on the far left. Bai Muchuan, in a bright orange outfit, was on the far right. Cameras were mounted inside the bus, filming the 7 contestants. The bus slowly pulled away, leaving the cheering fans and crew behind. A young guy with a microphone stood up front. It was Pang Xinyu, the host. He was a well-known outdoor expert, quick-witted and funny. Hey, everyone, I'm Pang Xinyu, host of Wild Survival Season 1. Thanks to Cheng Daheng Seasoning for their support, and to XX Outdoor Sports Brand for their sponsorship, and to XX Wine Company. He quickly rattled off the sponsors, then motioned for the cameraman to focus on the trio in the front row. Everyone knows these 3. Parkour expert Lu Zhan, retired athlete Yang Zhao, and physical training coach LV Dengfeng. The 3 waved at the camera as their names were called. Pang Xinyu moved to the second row. This is outdoor guru, Old Turtle Dove. Old Turtle Dove, in dark green, barely nodded at the camera, giving a chilly smile before looking away. Pang Xinyu knew what to expect from Old Turtle Dove, so he quickly moved the camera to Cheng Ling. Cheng Ling wore black outdoor gear, her long hair pulled back in a ponytail, looking surprisingly energetic and not like a villain. Hi everyone, I'm Cheng Ling. Welcome to Survival. Cheng Ling waved professionally. A vomit emoji popped up in the live chat, then, a wave of insults. Cameraman, quick. Move the shot. My mom wants to know why I just hurled while looking at my phone. Pang Xinyu chuckled. Looks like Cheng Ling's got a lot of energy. Let's see if she still has it later. Bai Muchuan had been staring at the back of Cheng Ling's head the whole time. His sister told him to look after her. Yeah, right. With all these cameras, the last thing he wanted to do was talk to Cheng Ling. He quickly adjusted his expression as the camera panned to him, moving his face away from the back of Cheng Ling's head and towards the camera. Pang Xinyu said with fake enthusiasm, "This is the new national sweetheart, known as the most beautiful man in historical dramas, Bai Muchuan. By Muchuan said softly, it's an honor to be part of this wilderness survival show. I've always been passionate about environmental protection. I hope everyone will do their part to protect the Earth's ecology so that wild animals can also have homes. Thank you. Your support means everything. Ah, love it. Muchuan cares so much about charity. My angel is so righteous and good. Show crew. Protect Muchuan at all costs. Pang Xinyu smiled. Our Mu male god is always passionate about the environment. And our show has the same vision, to unleash the wildness in all of us and protect our common home, the Earth. Finally, the most important, most fabulous, most mysterious guest, actor Jiang Qilan. Jiang Qilan took off his mask, adjusted his cap, and said seriously, I'm Jiang Qilan. I hope you all enjoy the show. Jiangmi, assemble. The live chat filled with the same message, reporting in. Jiang Qilan, always number one. Jiangmi forever, love you forever. Cheng Ling watched the others. Bai Muchuan forced a smile, clearly nervous. The sports trio were buzzing, barely containing their excitement for the challenge. Old Turtle Dove remained expressionless, distant. Jiang Qilan, on the other hand, made a good first impression. Cheng Ling was good at reading people. Jiang Qilan seemed genuine. From his small subconscious actions, she could tell that he was well-mannered and kind. When other people were talking, he looked at them and listened. Cheng Ling watched as Pang Xinyu made his way back down the aisle with a small lottery box. Please pick a ball. Pang Xinyu moved the box from front to back. Everyone chose a ball. Each ball had a number from 1 to 7. These numbers correspond to your live streams, and the area of the wilderness where you'll start out. Viewers can check out the map with the locations on our official website. Pang Xinyu returned to the front of the bus with the box. The cameraman pulled a big, strange hood out of his bag, like a gas mask. They quickly put it on. Then, a transparent screen rose between the passenger area and the driver screen. What was it for? The contestants looked around, confused. Chapter 19 The Desperate Program Crew. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the same time, millions of viewers watching the show were totally confused. This is what? Do I smell danger? What are they doing to our Jiang? Muchuan, run for your life. Then, Yang Zhao's eyes went wide. They're using anesthetic spray, she yelled. Before she could finish, white smoke billowed from the back. Yang Zhao blinked, and her hand went limp. Even Jiang Qilan was shocked. Fu Yibin, you're really pulling out all the stops. Then, he blacked out. The spray went on for a solid minute and a half. The crew made sure everyone was completely out of it. Even if someone noticed something and held their breath, a whiff of that spray would knock them out cold. Of course, Cheng Ling wasn't just anybody. She'd spent over 20 years dodging bullets and backstabbing. She always kept a few nerves on high alert. The second Cheng Ling saw the host with the mask, she inhaled deeply and started holding her breath. As the other guests collapsed, she played along and hit the deck, making sure she chose a flattering pose for the camera. 1, 2, 3, 105, 106. Her body could hold its breath for a little over 2 minutes. Cheng Ling's lungs felt like they were about to explode. Her ears were ringing. Cheng Ling thought she was about to crack. 116, 117. She clenched her fists, keeping her face relaxed to avoid giving anything away on the live stream. Just when she was about to give up, she heard the sweet sound of a car window sliding down. The car slowed to a stop. The driver, the host behind the barrier, and the photographer, who'd put on a gas mask, exchanged gestures. Cheng Ling did the math. The spray was probably almost gone. She let a tiny bit of fresh air into her lungs and instantly felt alive. She counted to 10, then carefully took another breath. She repeated this 5 or 6 times, clearing the stale air. The live chat was going nuts, after waves of. And the screen froze. Holy crap. This show is insane. I can't believe a show in China would pull something like this on the guests. They're really going all out for secrecy and authenticity. I take back what I said about the show being scripted. Is this even legal? Aren't they worried about the risks of anesthesia? The car stopped. What were they planning to do? Cheng Ling lay still, listening intently. She heard someone directing from outside. Car number 1, loading now. Please be gentle. The lady will be carried by female staff. Thanks for your hard work. Pang Xinyu said, Doctor, check for any abnormalities. After a moment, Cheng Ling felt someone approach. She immediately relaxed her muscles, perfecting her stunned act. The doctor examined her eyes and didn't suspect that the bright-eyed actress was faking it. Once they confirmed everyone was out and medically stable, they blindfolded and tied each member's hands behind their backs. They really tied them up tight. Then, they were placed in separate vans, 7 vans, each carrying a guest, formed a convoy and took off again. Cheng Ling closed her eyes, fanning away the lingering fumes. She took a deep breath, feeling a rush of excitement. This show is way more interesting than I thought. The live stream looped the members inside each van. Every van had a medical team monitoring vitals to ensure safety. It was only 2 p.m., but the online viewership had already passed 30 million, even with just 7 unconscious contestants on screen. It was a phenomenal live broadcast. After a 2-hour drive, the van stopped, and the camera focused on the host, Pang Xinyu. He smiled mysteriously. Okay, we've brought our 7 guests to their destination, Wild Boar Forest. The chat exploded. This is an isolated forest with the most primitive atmosphere. By incomplete statistics, there are at least hundreds of wild animals living here, including large aggressive mammals, snakes with sharp teeth, and poisonous star anise, caterpillars, etc. Our 7 members will be scattered in different areas of the jungle, and the cameras hidden in the jungle will show you the adventure and survival process. The show will give each member a survival kit. Somewhere in the jungle, there is a treasure box with a surprise inside. Everyone can choose to watch their favorite members on the live broadcast platform. If you have any questions, you can click the Help button in the lower right corner of the platform, or you can call the staff to consult. Pang Xinyu raised his arm and looked at his watch. Okay, based on the anesthesiologist's dosage, everyone should wake up in about half an hour. Stay tuned, the live broadcast never stops. From that moment, each of the 7 guests had their own live stream. Everyone could choose the contestant they wanted to watch. Jiang Qilan's live stream had 21.3 million viewers. Bai Muchuan had a bit less, but still over 5.2 million. Cheng Ling only had 300,000, and Lu Zhan had almost 200,000. The other 3 were lagging, with barely over 100,000 combined. Jiang Qilan's live stream. The photographer zoomed in on Jiang Qilan's face, taking advantage of the moment to display the actor's beauty. The face of the actor Jiang is really good looking and there is nothing wrong with it. There's not a flaw to be found, even with a close-up. The nose is smooth and high, the eyebrows are deep, the jawline is beautiful, and the ups and downs of the Adam's apple are so sexy. Countless people drooled at the handsome face of the actor Jiang sleeping. The car shook and stopped. The car door was opened, and several people came up and lifted the actor gently, then got off the car gently, put him in an open space in the forest, put down a backpack, and then the car drove away. The view switched to the cameras hidden in the forest. Dozens of cameras showed the actor Jiang on loop without a single blind spot. 10,000 comments flew by, gifts poured in. Jiang's fans were going wild. I'm in love. Saving screenshots. It feels like I'm lying next to Jiang Qilan. It's like a girlfriend's perspective. After 5 or 6 minutes, Jiang Qilan stirred and opened his eyes. He tried to move and found his wrists tied behind his back. He took a breath, sat up, and looked around. The forest was dense, with thick grass, tangled bushes, the chirping of insects, and the croaking of frogs. It was truly the middle of nowhere. Anyone used to city life would feel uneasy in such a wild place, but Jiang Qilan enjoyed the feeling. The rope wasn't tied too tight. It would be too dangerous to leave someone stranded with their hands bound. He tried to wiggle his wrists, rubbing the knot with his fingers, and then tried to untie the rope with his fingers. A hidden camera zoomed in on Jiang Qian's hands. His fingers were clearly knuckled and very long. The chat exploded. 55,555. I love those hands. Watching him untie the rope is making me hot and bothered. Me too. I just imagined an erotic bondage scene. I want to give the show runners a raise. Hey, tell us more about your bondage fantasy. My roommate asked why I was crying, so I showed her the live stream. Now she's ordering tissues. Gifts flashed across the screen, his fingers were nimble. He quickly untied the knot, stood up, and moved his wrists. He scanned the terrain and spotted a large backpack nearby. That must be the survival kit provided by the show. Jiang Qilan walked over, picked up the bag, and opened it. It was surprisingly well equipped. A simple folding tent, drinking water, a lighter, disinfectant wipes, of course, there were no tables or chairs. Otherwise, it would just be like camping. I wonder how the others are doing. Jiang Qilan stuffed everything back in the bag, slung it over his shoulder, found a sharp rock, scratched into a nearby tree, and headed into the depths of the forest. Chapter 20. There must be something hateful about pitiful people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cheng Ling lay motionless in the back of the car, professionally trained. She could regulate her heartbeat and breathing to lower her vital signs. Her eyes didn't flicker, her eyelids didn't twitch. Unless someone specifically checked, they wouldn't know she was awake. Once, on a mission, facing a superior enemy, she played dead, setting a personal record. She lay in a pile of corpses for 23 hours without being discovered. Those were the days of living life on the edge. As she thought about this, the car shook and stopped, the door opened. I'll take the upper body, you grab the feet, a woman whispered. Moments later, Cheng Ling felt herself being lifted onto a stretcher by two people. Her hands were tied behind her back, so she had to be placed sideways. They carried her for 100, maybe 200 yards, then gently set the stretcher down. Then, she was carried from the stretcher to the ground, still sideways. Now her face was pressed against the dirt. She could smell the damp forest floor, the uneven ground covered in weeds and wildflowers. The scent of trees, dew, soil, and grass filled her nostrils. Her limbs relaxed. Someone took the stretcher away. Put the bag by her feet, the woman said again. Spray her down with bug spray. Cheng Ling felt a bag placed next to her legs and heard the clinking of items inside. Then someone sprayed her head to toe with insect repellent. People bustled around, making final checks. After a while, she heard them say, "Let's go." Footsteps faded into the distance. She heard a car start, the sound growing fainter and fainter until all the staff had left, leaving a cloud of dust. Cheng Ling didn't move. Should she wait a little longer before waking up? Is it time yet? Almost. 1, 2, 3. 597, 598, 599, 600. Cheng Ling counted to 600 in her head and opened her eyes. It had to be around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, but the thick canopy overhead only allowed a few shafts of sunlight to penetrate. 5 or 6 pines were scattered around her, along with some sycamore and birch trees. A thick carpet of fallen needles made for a surprisingly soft bed. With her hands tied behind her, she pushed herself into a sitting position. Her hawk-like eyes scanned the forest, a bird's nest in a pine tree, behind the leaves of a nearby bush, a mouse hole not far away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 cameras were trained on her. Cheng Ling pretended not to notice them. She sat up straight, brought her tied hands around to her feet, bending at an extreme angle. Then, like she was jumping rope, she slipped her hands from her feet to her chest and put them in her mouth. Ignoring the grime, she bit through the ropes. That flexibility. If she used that in bed, know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, we know. Gross. I accidentally clicked into the flower of evil live stream. Now I see why you get so much hate. A fanbase like this says a lot about the star. Peace out. Free at last, Cheng Ling stood in the deserted forest, closed her eyes, and took a deep breath. Ah, the smell of the forest, so good, it was like going back in time. She felt like running a few laps just to let off steam, but the faint whir of a camera turning snapped her back to reality, and she glared at the hidden lenses. The cold, almost venomous look in her eyes sent a shiver down the cameraman's spine. Unit 15. Unit 15. Stay hidden. Don't let the contestants see you. Repeat, Do not let the contestant see you. The cameraman whispered into his microphone, I'm staying out of sight. Cheng Ling closed her eyes and silently counted to 3, this isn't a mission, this isn't a mission, this isn't a mission, repeat, not a mission. The murderous glint faded from her eyes, and she opened them. The untied rope was a valuable resource, and she went to grab the backpack. Opening the backpack, she started unloading the supplies. Under the watchful eyes of thousands of viewers, she pulled out the first item, a jar of 5-spice powder. Cheng Ling stared at the 5-spice powder, then set it aside. The chat exploded with laughter. LOL. What a useless seasoning. The show really doesn't think much of Cheng Ling, huh? Are they doing this on purpose? 5-spice powder? Is Cheng Ling supposed to throw 5-spice powder at wild animals to defend herself? If she could get it in their eyes, it might actually work, right? My mom says that brand of seasoning is great. The price hasn't gone up in years, and the taste is authentic. Cheng Ling continued to rummage through the bag, her expression unchanged. She pulled out 7 or 8 more jars, table salt, chili powder, cooking wine, white sesame seeds, sesame oil, white vinegar, minced garlic. Cheng Ling. All, Cheng Daheng, brand. One of the sponsors. Or maybe it's their factory, Cheng Ling. I've got a WTF brewing here, chat. Just came from Jiang Qilan and by Muchuan streams. Jiang Qilan got a compressed tent, a lighter, and drinking water. By Muchuan got a capsule sleeping bag and compressed biscuits. If you tell me the show isn't targeting Cheng Ling, I won't believe you. Cheng Ling kept digging, and finally, she pulled out a small folding knife meant for opening packages, the blade barely the size of a fingernail, practically harmless. This knife couldn't do much besides opening boxes. In this scary, deserted forest, the delicate Cheng Ling, surrounded by a dozen useless seasonings, sitting alone on dead branches and fallen leaves, seemed pretty pathetic. Came here to hate on Cheng Ling, but now I feel bad for her. There's a reason why people end up pitiable. Think about why the show is treating her like this. Didn't the show say the items were randomly assigned? Don't be naive. The show can't afford to tick off big shots like Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan. There was definitely some behind-the-scenes manipulation. The director could do nothing about it. Originally, they were going to be random, but Jiang Qilan and the others were worried about something going wrong, and Bai Muchuan called directly to ask for extra care. What could they do? Facing the audience's accusations, the show had to play dumb. Director He and producer Lin felt their faces burning. Besides, only Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan got top-tier survival backpacks, and the rest of the 5s were random. The survival supplies in each backpack were different. To make things interesting, there was a cooking bag that only people with terrible luck would pick up. After all, Cheng Daheng, your kitchen companion, had generously invested a lot. They were forced to play along. Besides, the production team thought that whoever got the cooking bag could just team up with someone else. Seasonings weren't totally useless, right? You'd need a fire to cook in the wild. Cooking needs seasoning, right? So, it was useful, but the production team didn't expect that the person with bad luck would be the universally disliked Cheng Ling. No one would want to team up with her. Could this delicate celebrity survive tonight with such a useless backpack? Producer Lin watched Cheng Ling staring helplessly at the pile of seasonings on the screen, and recalled Cheng Ling flexing her bicep, and sighed. Cheng Ling rummaged through the bag a few more times, turned it upside down, and shook it to make sure there was nothing left, then started gathering up the items and putting them back inside. It's all good. Cheng Ling figured she didn't need much for outdoor survival, so this level was basically a vacation. With the seasonings on hand, she could definitely have a delicious meal. Perfect. Cheng Ling didn't realize that the way she gathered the bottles and cans had aroused sympathy in many viewers. Seeing the skinny girl picking up the containers so miserably made everyone feel sorry for her, especially when they saw her bend down, pick up the ropes that had just bound her, and carefully put them in her bag. She was immediately branded as a poor little thing. She even carefully picked up the rope that had tied her up and put it in her bag. Cheng Ling patted the bag. She suddenly remembered Cheng's father massaging his temples while reading the report, and Cheng Bushing's increasingly dark circles under his eyes. TSK. Cheng Ling opened the bag again, pulled out a can, glanced at the label, and held it up to the empty forest. Cheng Daheng seasons and makes delicious food. Cheng Daheng seasons and satisfies your stomach. The pepper can is a must-have self-defense item for home and travel. When necessary, you must sprinkle it on the enemy's face without mercy. Don't be soft when eating barbecue. After saying that, Cheng Ling swallowed a big mouthful of saliva and sang, "Grilled chicken wings, my favorite." The live stream went silent for a moment. Did anyone else just change their mind about Cheng Ling? I thought she'd throw a fit. She's got a good attitude. She didn't panic when she woke up, untied her ropes first and put them away. That's decent wilderness survival thinking. I heard it took Bai Muchuan 10 minutes to untie his ropes after he woke up. Why are Cheng Ling's fans so shameless? Stop riding our brother Muchuan's coattails. Get out of here. Cheng Daheng. Cheng Ling, both have the surname Cheng. Any connection here? Please, if Cheng Ling was related to Cheng Daheng Cheng Group, she'd use it to build herself up. Saying she was the daughter of a rich family. The show is just advertising, kills the viewing experience. Bye. What's wrong with ads? Without these sponsors, would we even have a show? Besides, the way they mention them is pretty funny.